All right, guys, welcome back to the channel for another Real Talk episode. Today, we are going to be taking a look and going over the SIG Spear LT SBR. This is the 11.5.556 version of the SIG Spear. But before we talk about all this and get into the setup and the idea behind it and why I kind of went with this platform for this job, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by the channel. If you guys do want to support the channel, liking, commenting, and subscribing is super played out, but it helps tremendously. You guys have no idea how much just that simple clicking that like button or talking shit in the comment section helps me and promotes these in the algorithm. So I really appreciate anyone who does that. It is completely free. And then if you do need any kind of gear and you are going to buy it anyways, I would appreciate it if you guys use my discount code over at brownells.com. It is RDB10. Saves you 10% off at brownells.com. Makes me a little bit of commission as well, so we can keep these videos cranking out for free, keep the lights on in here. And then lastly, downrange thermal. RDB5 saves you 5% off at downrange thermal. They are the night vision thermal sponsor for the channel, so they provided us with a CQBL, this Unity button, the EOTech, a couple other cool things so we could bring you guys some high quality content, hopefully. Or as I say, if you like mediocre content, subscribe to my channel. So with that being said, lastly, we do have a discount code from Samsung Manufacturing. After they saw the video on the SAS stock that I did, those 1913 stocks, they offered me a discount code. I don't make any money off of it, but if you guys are interested in the SAS stock or their vertical foregrips, and again, we'll go over in more detail at the end of the video, all of the accessories we have on this thing. But if you guys are interested in those, it saves you 10% off. Again, I appreciate those folks for giving you guys the opportunity to save a little bit of money on their products. So now with that being said, guys, why did I go with the SIG Spear? Why did I go with a short stroke gas piston system for my home defense / night vision gun? And that is because it is a short barrel, because I have a short stroke gas piston system on my HK on a longer barrel, on a 16.5-inch barrel. And that gun was so heavy, I could not realistically see using it in any scenario besides a precision scenario where I'm, proned out on a bipod, or I'm not really looking at that like a run and gun, like I would my Geissele URGI, or something that is going to be a DI system that's going to be much lighter in the front that I can actually maneuver with. And if I had to run through the mountains or any kind of other situation besides a precision type role, that's why that gun is now kitted out like it is, because it was so heavy in the front end, I could not justify or imagine myself running that in any other scenario besides a precision role. So if you're going to buy a short stroke gas piston system gun, you should probably buy it on a shorter barrel, because that's where they thrive. They thrive on short barreled suppressed machine guns. Now, this one is not a machine gun. I wish it was. It's not, thanks to the ATF. I got some funny acronyms for that. But anyways, this is an SBR. Stands for should not be regulated. But yeah, anyways, it's still going to be better on this short stroke, because all the weight is closer to your body. So it's going to add, what that short stroke gas piston system does is adds extra moving parts up here versus a steel tube on a DI system. It's a very lightweight system on a regular like AR-15, traditional AR-15 that's direct impingement. On this guy, you have a lot more moving parts and it gets a lot heavier out front. Now, obviously, the attachments also affect that weight out front, but it's all remaining very close to your body, so it's not going to fatigue you as fast as something that's going to be sticking out there much further, and it's going to just break down your stamina faster. So again, if you're going to buy a short stroke gas piston system, I recommend a short barreled one, because on that long boy back there, I kind of regretted buying that after a while, because it's just like I never shot it, never wanted to shoot it. It was just so heavy in the front end. So anyways, with that being said, the whole idea behind this rifle was, first of all, it looks amazing. I mean, this SIG really crushed it with this thing. The whole design looks phenomenal. They lightened it up from the Gen 2 to the Gen 3, and it just does everything really well. It's extremely reliable, and I've had no issues with it so far. But I just always had dreamed of having this as my nightstand gun. Now, obviously, we've made a couple of videos in the past couple of days about 16-inch guns and 14.5s. I don't see a huge advantage from going from a 14.5 to a 12.5. And that's why I just dropped it right down to an 11.5. Because once you add a suppressor on there, it's going to extend this barrel length. The perceived or the actual length of this thing now it maneuvers like a 16-inch gun without a suppressor. So that's the reason for having a short barrel rifle, is so that you can put a suppressor on there and still remain somewhat maneuverable. So for all those guys saying 16-inch guns can't be maneuvered indoors, it's like, ask any SWAT or special operator about their 10.3s with their suppressors on there. It's going to make that thing feel like a 16-inch gun. So if you have a 16-inch gun without a can, then it's the same exact amount of maneuverability. So anyways, with that being said, guys, the whole idea behind this rifle was to have a badass, duty-rated, kind of just gonna run no matter what nightstand gun, as well as making this my dedicated night vision gun. So I haven't done a tremendous amount of night vision shooting. I'll just be honest about that. I'm not like some of these guys who've been shooting night vision for years or even decades. So I'm relatively new to the night vision game, but this thing is phenomenal. And again, we'll talk about how it's set up because it has a lot to do with the mission or the idea behind why I have it set up this way. But I just absolutely love 11.5s. Now, if I had to choose or if I had to recommend somebody to go a different route and you wanted to ask me, hey, Range Day Bro, I want an 11.5 home defense gun. Would you recommend the SIG Spear LT or should I just buy an 11.5 URGI upper for the AR lower that I already have? I would just tell you to go ahead and just buy the 11.5 URGI upper for the AR lower you already have because it's going to save you a ton of money that you could invest into other things like your IR laser or a IR light. Or there's a billion different things you need once you start getting into night vision. So you can invest that money elsewhere, and believe me, you'll need that money for elsewhere. But yeah, if I had to do it all over again, would I go the same route as getting the SIG Spear LT? I think I would because I just absolutely love this rifle. But I do still wonder sometimes, and I still kind of wish I had a URGI 11.5 to compare it to because I am so in love with my 14.5 URGI back there. I just love that Geisley upper. It performs phenomenally well. It is super gassy with the RC2, so that is the one downside that this gun does not struggle with. I was just shooting that URGI yesterday, and I was just eating gas to the face. I mean, there was so much I felt like my actual tear ducts were like sore after that range day. So that type of stuff is real. Like that blowback is a real thing with a traditional suppressor. That the short stroke gas piston system helps mitigate a lot of that and vent a lot of that off before it ever gets to your face. So that's a real thing. But is it worth another $1,500 or $1,200 on the low end to get this rifle versus getting just that upper that comes with a braided buffer wire and weight? That's up to you to decide. But again, I'm just giving you guys options and kind of my mentality of where I was when I bought this thing and kind of if I had any regrets. So now that I got that out of the way, this thing sits by my nightstand every single night. It's zeroed. It shoots really tight groups with this 55 grain Hornady critical duty, which I know not the best, not what I expected actually out of a 1-in-7 twist barrel, cold hammer forged chrome line barrel. But it shoots great with that stuff, so that's what it's zeroed for. That's great home defense, self-defense ammunition. And real quick before I move on, I got to touch on this whole pistol for home defense versus rifle home defense. Again, the best pistol or best gun that you have is the gun that you have on you. So if you just have a pistol, by all means, homie, like practice with it, train with it, know what you're doing with it, and also put hollow points in it for home defense. It's smart. It's going to not overpenetrate as much as a FMJ would. But at the end of the day, this is the best tool that you should be. This is the tool that you should be equipped with for home defense, in my humble opinion, and the opinions of every SWAT team and every special operator out there, because they're not going into buildings and slinging their rifles to the side and pulling their handguns out. Unless you're like climbing a ladder or going into a closet or you're in a double wide trailer, okay? Unless there's some really tight space you need to get into and you need another hand free to maneuver or do something or whatever, then you're using a rifle because these are way better at hitting the off switch than any pistol is ever going to be. It's just a matter of fact, okay? Ballistics and physics and whatnot. So I think you should have an AR. You have 4 points of contact versus 2 with a pistol. It's way easier to get accurate follow-up shots. You have 30 rounds versus 17, or unless you're running a Glock stick, you know what I mean? And it's just, for women, it's so much easier to shoot. Like you hand anybody a pistol at 25 yards, you hand them a rifle at 25 yards, and show me the group and the difference afterwards. I don't care if they're a brand new shooter, never shot before in their life. It's going to be way tighter with a rifle. So anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's just go over the setup because, again, I've kind of given you guys the idea, the mentality behind this rifle and why I have it set up the way it is. Now let's talk about the setup. So this is my dedicated home defense gun and my night vision gun. This is an 11.5. I've shot this thing out to 500 yards with this EOTech and magnifier, this exact optic setup. Now, if I had a 1-6 or a 1-8 on here, it'd be even easier to get accurate hits at the distance. The biggest issue with something like this, an 11.5, shooting 77 grain even out to 500 yards, is that bullet's gonna get bullied around a lot by the wind, especially out here in Texas. It's really windy, so I'm holding out into open space with my EOTech, even though I'm using an EOTech EXPS 3-2, meaning it's a 2-dot reticle. So I have a 50 200 yard zero, and then the second dot is a 500 yard zero. I believe that's calibrated for a 14 5-inch gun in 5.56. Again, do your own research, check that out. But it was pretty accurate. I was holding probably that second dot about maybe 4 inches above the target, but I was holding way off to the side to try to guesstimate my wind. So if I had a dedicated LPVO with some win holds like the attacker 1-8 on here, you can guarantee I'm getting way more consistent hits at 500 yards. So it can do that, absolutely. Is it gonna hit that off switch right away? Is it gonna expand completely right away at 500 yards with the energy it's bringing? Probably not, but are you gonna take somebody out of the fight? Most likely you will take them out of the fight. So if somebody's shooting at you from that distance and you hit them with one of these 11.5, they're not gonna be happy, and most likely they're not gonna keep shooting at you. So again, the whole argument about, oh, 11.5 or 10.3, like it's not going to do anything when it gets there. It's just a hole puncher. Well, it is a hole puncher, and that's not, someone's not going to be happy about that. So let's just put that argument to rest. So this gun for daytime use, I believe, is a 0 to 400 yard gun all day. I believe it is effective from 0 to 400 yards. That's just my humble opinion. I would trust this thing if I had a mission type that I knew I wasn't going to be shooting 400 yards, past 400 yards with it. I'd probably grab this or the URGI, just depending on if there was enclosed spaces involved in that or vehicles. But again, I digress. At nighttime with night vision, I'm not shooting this past 100 yards, most likely. I think anyone who has actually shot with night vision understands this, especially active aiming. This laser is going to be probably taking up an entire target. It's probably like 12 inches wide at least at 100 yards. So this laser, again, people don't think about that. This laser is going to expand, and as it goes further and further and further, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger on your target. So I don't know exactly what the CQB-L's size would be at 100 yards, but it's pretty big. So for precise shots, and nowadays, since the whole withdrawal from Afghanistan, that whole situation, everybody has nods now. So you have to assume the enemy has night vision capabilities, or at least some type of capability to detect IR signature. So again, with that being said, I actually primarily plan on shooting and training with passive aiming with my night vision. So in that situation, I would just take this magnifier off, and then I can aim passively and give myself more room for my nods. But again, this is a great little option, and I kind of skipped over these front two things here and just kind of started talking about this. But I think it's important to understand what your capabilities are. And this 11.5 is very capable for long ranges during the day, but at nighttime, you're really not shooting that far with night vision unless you have some kind of clip on and a dedicated kind of long range night vision gun. That's just my humble opinion. So now with that being said, let's just go over from blast end to ass end and talk about the setup here. So right up here in the front, we're going to start up with the Surefire SOCOM RC2. This can has been around for forever. It is proven. It's been downrange. It's been used all over the world. It's great with flash signature reduction, and then also displacing or not allowing your enemy to know where you're shooting from. So displacing that sound so they don't know where you're shooting from. That's kind of the whole point behind a suppressor. It's not actually to make the sound quiet or you're not able to hear the sound. And Brass Facts or Hop or both actually did a really cool video where they kind of put mics out and like metered the differences between a flow through can and this can and that can. And it really just turned out that they were all essentially the same, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section below, but suppressors are more just to mask where you're shooting from, essentially. Okay. And this one is one of the best at it. Now, you will have to get a taper adapter for this barrel, so just know that. SIG will send you one for free if you call them. So I had to do that to mount up my Surefire 3-prong flash hider on here, and just like with the URGI, it does have that ping. You can probably hear it. There we go. I might have just peeked my mic out there, so hopefully you can still hear me. But it does have that ping, but if you can hear that, you're not shooting it fast enough. That's my humble take on it. So big fan of this thing. I've never had to shoot it off, which is great. I've heard a lot of guys have to, but again, love that thing, and it matches the whole vibe, obviously. Now we're running a Surefire Scout light. This is it has the Vampire, the KM2-C head on it, so you can switch between white light, visible light, which it's on right now, and then you can switch it to the off mode if you don't want to have any kind of ND, white or IR, and then you could go to IR, which is the last setting, and then obviously it's infrared, so you won't be able to see it on the camera right now. I do have the 100 Concepts light cap here, which is a pretty awesome setup, and it completely blocks out any light. So I have it on white light right now, and you cannot see, even from the back of this thing, you're not able to see the lights on right now. So it's a very, very cool and necessary, I believe, if you're shooting this thing at night or for any kind of nighttime shooting. It's a necessary evil to have, because if you accidentally hit or have any reflection off this, even it blocks the reflection. So, like a kill flash would for an optic, it's just necessary in today's day and age if you're fighting anybody who knows what they're doing. So We do have the Unity. This is the Unity, I don't know, hot button. I forget what this one's called, to be honest with you. But I really like it. It is super small, slim, and it's just easy. It works. You can push it for momentary, or you can click it for constant. And I like that it's just small. It's raised, so you can actually use it as a gas pedal if you want to. You don't need to with a 556, but there's that. I do have the TNVC and forward control FDC kind of wire management system here. It's a really slick. It actually came with the mall, the BE Myers mall, and it comes in like the limited edition one. I don't know if it comes in every single mall package, but it's really cool. You can run your wires through here, and it's M-lock, so you just kind of nice little wire management there. Okay, it's simple, it's clean, it's aluminum. I like it. It's the only thing that's not FDE on the whole gun too, which kind of drives me a little crazy, but it has a little pop to it there. Before we move on to the Steiner CQBL, let's talk about the Samson Manufacturing vertical foregrip. I love this thing. This is their shorty and grenade. It's super short. It's just more like a hand stop than it is a vertical grip, obviously, because see, I got big hands, but still, it's very small, sleek, and then you could remove it if you want to for any reason. If you need to throw this up on a bag or something, it's just a toolless removal. Just twist that guy off, and then you have a more of a flat surface that you could run a sandbag or something under there for accurate shooting if you don't have a bipod. I am running some rail scales in the Dragon on the bottoms, or I guess on the side and the bottom here. So it gives you just a little bit more grip if your hands are wet or dirty. And then the Steiner CQBL, big fan of this. For the price, this thing's $1,000, so it's cheaper. It's as cheap or around the price of a lot of the Holosun options, but obviously with a name like Steiner, it's going to have better quality. So it's just, you got an off switch on the top, and then you have an IR and then a Viz setting. So off right now, IR, Viz, and then there's your fire button. So it's very easy. Even though this rail is a little bit taller than a traditional AR-15 rail, again, I do have big hands, but it's very easy to reach over the top and activate my laser. Just hit that fire button right there very easily. So I really love that guy. It's a really great option for the price. I think it's a great, entry level IR laser aimer pointer, especially if you have a Vampire Light. Like the two of those combined are going to run you like maybe $1,500. I guess that's the price of a PEC, but again, I think it's a really cool setup for the money, and a lot of people already have Surefire lights, so if you just buy a Vampire head, it's a little bit cheaper. Again, I already had this light, so it didn't make sense for me to spend too much money on like a Mall or a, even the Wilcox Raid XE. Like those are obviously great options, but those are going to run you like $3,500 at the minimum. So it's a really cool option. It's really sleek. It's really lightweight. It fits right on top of the rail. So yeah, I really like that option. Again, it's nothing crazy. It's not like the most Gucci flexing, on Instagram type shit, like your yeah, you know what I'm talking about. What's the one? I'm blanking so hard right now. We'll come back to it. Anyways, got a mag pull, just a little QD socket up here because there's no QD sockets built into this rail. And then we are running the EOTech EXPS 3-2 on here. So this is the 2-dot reticle. Really cool. Gives you a better reference point for shooting out to range. I really like that. Sitting on the Unity Fast Riser. Then we have the EOTech G45 magnifier with a flip to center mount. So Unity mount, so I can flip it to center. Guys will go crazy over this gap right here. They're like, dude, why is there such a big gap between your red dot and your magnifier? Well, even though this magnifier is pretty decent eye relief, it's still, you still gotta get up pretty close to it. And so there's nothing but air right here, right? I mean, the only disadvantage when you go to a magnifier setup like this versus like a prism scope or LPVO is you have more lenses that can get dirty. So unless it's like a really foggy day and there's gonna be fog, whatever the atmospheric things are, there's gonna be in between there that day anyway. So it doesn't change. It doesn't like have a parallax shift. It doesn't matter how far you have this back from this. Let's just put it that way. That's not going to make a huge difference having it back a little bit further so they don't have to choke up on the gun so much. And I like that my EOTech is so far forward so that I have a better field of view when I'm aiming without this thing, which is 90% of the time I'm not using the magnifier. So I can see better. I can see more of my field of view. I can see more of the battle space, so to speak. And then also give myself more room for when I'm running nods without this thing. So that's why I have so much space in between my magnifier and my red dot, because it's not required for it to be right up against it, okay, for it to work properly. Back from there, guys, everything else is stock on here. Stock trigger, stock mag release, stock slide release. Everything else is stock from SIG. selector, all that good stuff. The cool thing is it does accept AR-15 triggers, so I may change it out, and I'm planning on changing it out one day when I get some spare cash for a Geisley trigger because they're just better. But it's not a bad trigger for what it is from SIG, so I like it. And this video is already dragging out. Otherwise, I would ghost the trigger with you guys. But let's go back to the stock right here. We briefly touched on this at the beginning of the video, but this is the SAS stock from Samson Manufacturing. I absolutely adore this stock. I love it. The more I use it, the more I like it. It has a push button over here on the side, so it allows you to fold it. It is extremely tight and robust. There's zero play in this folding mechanism, unlike the Midwest Industries that I had issues with. Push that button, fold it to the side. It has retention, so it stays there, doesn't fall down. And then when you bust it out, it locks firmly into place. It is just a phenomenal lockup. It also has toolless adjustments, which I really love. So over here, you could just push this button and lift this guy up like so. And then there's another stage to that height. So, and there's zero play in that. It's rock solid. They did a phenomenal job because you don't need tools. You don't need to have little twisty tabs like the Alpha stock. It just works, okay? And then over here as well, you have a little push button, and you could extend your length of pull as well. So if you like a super long boy, it's already pretty long with it collapsed, so I like it. I'm 6'1", but I still like to run my stocks relatively close in. I don't run my stocks all the way out like some of these tall guys do. But I love this because when I'm running this this magnifier, I can actually break this thing down and fold it, and without having to bump it into this QD lever, I can just pop that baby down, and then it sits flush to the gun. So I don't have to have, like the J-Max stock has that permanent cheek riser on it. This is the J-Max stock right here I'm referring to. Got the permanent cheek riser on it, so that's screwed in, so I can't remove that. So anytime I fold it, it's just like still popped out, which really annoys me. So I just love how sleek the Samson Manufacturing stock is, since it has that adjustable cheek piece. It's toolless, phenomenal. It's got reinforced steel QD cups on the back, and this one is in their FDE. It's just the chef's kiss. I love this thing. And again, big shout out to Samson. You guys can buy one of these for 10% off using RDB10. Again, I don't make any money, but it saves you some money, which is more important. So yeah, I absolutely love this stock. Now, to wrap it up, I think we covered everything on here. To wrap it up, guys, do I recommend you get an 11.5? Absolutely. I recommend you do whatever you can to better improve your chances of defending your family, your loved ones, your state, your country, just defending freedom. And this is one of those tools that I have that I will absolutely be hard pressed to choose between this or my 14.5 URGI if I had to just grab one rifle and run out the door for an unknown scenario. I know some people are like, oh, aren't 11.5s like the best do-it-all rifles? It's like, well, the 14.5 is pretty great, but once I throw this can on there, I'm really like about 20 inches, 22 inches. I mean, I'm really out there. Actually, I don't know. Let's see, 14.5 plus about 6 inches to that. So do the math there. So that's, yeah, about 20.5 inches. That's a pretty long gun to be swinging around in a car, in a vehicle, or indoors. So this thing does kind of make a pretty good case for itself as far as a do-it-all rifle, especially for defense, for defensive rifles. If you're not living out in the country in the mountains and you're in an urban environment, I mean, it's hard to beat the argument for the 11.5. So, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Again, I'm just one man. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But it's just my opinion on this kind of stuff, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed this content. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel, check your subscriptions, liking, commenting. Again, even if it's just talking shit, it's a huge help to the algorithm. And then RDB10 over at brownowls.com, and then RDB5 over at downrangethermal.com. That is going to save you guys some money, as well as RDB10 for Samson Manufacturing for any of you guys who are interested in these products from Samson. They make great stuff. And then lastly, Christ is King. Love your neighbor. Give your family a hug and a kiss. Forgive. Maybe don't forget. But yeah, with that being said, guys, love you, and I'll talk to you soon.